been harvesting 34 years. So it's been a wonderful trajectory. And the beauty is to produce something that is healthy, sustainable, has satiety. And, the Chinese refer to the walnut as a brain food. Well, you can kind of see it in the cranium look on it. But it is a brain food. It's filled with antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids, and it gives you life.
But wouldn't it be fantastic if a whole school system wanted your walnuts? I mean, to give you the security you needed to do that job that you do, raising that precious food.
And you and I have a friend who's doing that, Rodney Taylor, who is at the Riverside School District. He's in charge of all of the food procurement, and I think he's done that with citrus and a few other things, Alice.
But it could be done with everything, and it could give great encouragement for people who wanted to farm. Yeah. I mean, it would be amazing.
And tremendous food for learning.
I mean, that's what happened with Chez Panisse. I wasn't, at the time, really looking for local, sustainable growers. But I was looking for taste. Mm-hmm. And what happened was that I ended up at the doorsteps of the local, sustainable growers. And then we became friends, and I was willing to pay whatever price because it made the food at Chez Panisse delicious. And then I ultimately let them decide what food we were going to use in the restaurant. I didn't dream up the menu and then go order the food. They told me what they had, and I bought it for the restaurant. And it was a great revelation to me to understand the role of the farmer in the restaurant. That's the most valuable person.
In the books about your work, they often say that you didn't just find but created farmers by encouraging certain kinds. Is this
well? I think
myth,
that's
or?
well. There's a lot. Something amazing happened. Now it's almost 30 years ago. My father saw that I was struggling to find. To bring in all the different produce from all the different farmers around. And he suggested that he find somebody within an hour of Chez Panisse who was willing to grow the food for us. And he went up to Davis and asked for all of the organic farms within 1 hour of the restaurant. And he and my mother went traveling around California and visiting them all, and he came back and he presented 3 people to us, and he said, but we've already chosen one. And that was Bob Kennard, who has spoken here at the Edible Education course, and I would really recommend that you listen to his talk last year, because he's an extraordinary farmer. And my father chose him because he thought that he was crazy and that we would be the only one who could really appreciate what he was doing. Because my father came from the 50s where all the crops were in rows and you could see them all out there. And Bob, it was a field of what looked to my father like weeds. And then he went out there and he pulled them aside, and there were these beautiful, perfect cauliflowers. And Bob told my dad that he was allowing the soil to be all that it could be for the plants, and that's what gave them the nourishment. And that's why they were, in his mind, 10% more nourishing than anybody else's plants. But it's true. It's true. And he always talked to us as if, the plants are, it's like a family. that if the family loves the child and gives the child all that he needs to be who he would like to be, then that's what will happen. That child will grow up to be that way, and that's what the soil gives to that crop. And that carrot can be
and that's why we've moved
the best taste.
To no-till.
No-till.
I was going to ask you about when you started farming, was organic an idea for you? Was sustainable an idea for you?
That's a wonderful question, and it was incredibly challenging. I feel that I came out of college with tools to do the job, and as I mentioned, the competition was very significant. And I embraced more of the treadmill that I had learned. And it took me about 10 years to transition and to really find the mentors, because that field that you described, Alice, was not... Honestly, I'm kind of a neatnik a little bit, and I kind of do like things to be in rows, and I realized, okay, Craig, you've got to really relearn things here. And as we've all said tonight, and I know you believe, it is the soil. It's the richness, those billions of microorganisms. And so we have to enrich that culture in everything we do. So it was a new learning curve for me. I made lots of mistakes. By the way, those are all part of who we are. I make them all the time. But it probably took me... Well, of course, the transition to organic is 3 technical years, but it probably took me 10 years. Wow.
And I'm sure the
I'd love to
class has lots of questions. Yeah. So why don't we go there right now? Would you like to join the conversation and talk to Craig and Alice?
We have a question from social media. What are some of the best daily practices to address the California drought on the farm and in food service?
Great question, and that's what we should all be thinking about. I think the video that we showed in 1 minute just really concisely put it in mind for me. So when we're at home, be very, very thoughtful about the water that we're consuming. I spent a lot of time in Latin America in the countries that were frequently dry, and so just the amount of time that you spend in the shower, washing dishes, drinking water, whatever it is. So to be incredibly mindful of what we're doing every day. I saw in the paper that the average lawn, the average house lawn, 100,000 gallons of water a year. I went, oh my God! I mean, we have to change everything we do. I've got to change the way I eat. I really enjoy meat. I do half of the shopping in our family and half of the cooking, and I load up on that. I have to be aware of that. You saw, once again, how many gallons it takes to grow the various things that we enjoy as a society. So in food service, I thought the idea that Alice had of reducing portions, the amount of food that gets thrown away at restaurants, it's staggering. And the only thing that assuages my guilt is we have chickens. I encourage everybody to get chickens, because then whatever you don't eat other than meats goes out to the chickens. That'd be the take-home.
We take all of our compost back up to the farm. And so we drive it up there and bring back the vegetables. So it's a beautiful cycle. I'm not sure that we could probably afford to give everybody seconds on all the food.
No, but most people aren't going to ask.
You don't think so?
Would you guys ask for a second? I mean,
it's the problem with delicious food. If you made the food less desirable, you'd be solving
I'm not suggesting that the first portion be weensy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I always ask for half portions myself, and that's something.
Alice, you seem very optimistic about public school system taking on this cause. I would just ask you to expand upon what changes you think would have to happen in the public school systems in order for this to be a possibility and also equitable across, economic demographics.
Well, I'm asked this question all of the time. And I think the easiest way to make something happen is to have somebody at the top insisting that it happen. And I think back to the precedent of Kennedy when we had a physical fitness issue in the 60s. That was in the 50s, actually. When we, pardon me? Early 60s. Okay. And we weren't physically fit as a nation for the new frontier. And so Kennedy decided that we should put physical fitness into every school in the nation. And he cheerled for that. And he made himself an example and gave awards and got every agency in Washington to be part of that effort. And he didn't put a whole lot of money to it, but he put a whole lot of enthusiasm and rightness to it. And we built gymnasiums, and we hired teachers, and we made physical fitness part of the core curriculum in really every school in the United States. And the problems and the issues are so grave right now that I can't imagine that we couldn't launch a campaign for edible education in the public schools. And especially with the needs of children, the health issues and the hunger issues are so dire that wouldn't it be a wonderful thing to feed every child at school for free? Mm-hmm. That they would all come around the table, and at the same time, you're giving the money to the farmers who are taking care of the land. So you're bringing the values of the farmers into the schools. And the schools